talk about pairing wine with food, it's very important that you get it right, because your customers' experience of your food in your restaurant and their experience of the wines that are served to them can be affected if you don't suggest the right wine with the food that they're eating. So when we think about pairing wine with food, there's three considerations that you need to think about: is the weight of the food and the weight of the wine. So when we talk about weight, we mean the heaviness of the food. So is it a heavy dish or is it a light dish? And don't always think about the protein content, the meat version of it, because the meat might not be the heaviest part of the dish. It could actually be the sauce that's the heaviest part of the dish. The second consideration that we need to think about is the degree of flavor. So quite spicy food is quite intense flavors. If you think about blue cheese, it's quite an intense flavor. You need to pair the food, that intense flavor profile, with quite an intense flavor profile of wine. So generally, Thai food would work really well with the typical characteristics of Gewürztraminer and very intense Chenin Blancs. And then the last thing that you need to consider is what's the main taste profile of the dish and the wine. So on your tongue, you've got 5 different taste sensations. On the tip of your tongue, you've got sweet. On the side of your tongue, in the front, you've got salty. And then next one on, a little bit further back on the sides, is sour. Right at the back, you've got bitter, and in the middle of your tongue, you've got umami. Umami is, the typical characteristic of umami is, think mushrooms, marmite, bovril, what else is there? The seaweed characteristics. That's that almost lekker kry flavor that you get. So let's talk cultivars. Starting with Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc has many different sort of flavor profiles depending on where it's produced, where it's grown. It can be very green grassy, it can be herbaceous, it can be canned peas, it can have quite a mineral tones to it, it can have yellow fruits. All in all, Sauvignon Blanc is characterized as having quite vibrant acidity. So when pairing this with food, you kind of need to match the acidity in the wine. Klein Constantia Sauvignon Blanc is one of South Africa's great Sauvignon Blancs. It's from the Constantia Valley. They are renowned for Sauvignon Blanc production, and this Sauvignon Blanc specifically is made from very specific sites on the farm. It's characterized with lots of gooseberries and mineral overtones to it. Has a varied amounts of flavor profiles. It's almost seen as like a fruit salad style of wine, but quite typical characteristics are guava, passion fruit, and citrus. Ken Farriser is renowned for Chenin Blanc, and this Chenin Blanc specifically is slightly wooded, so it can actually handle quite a heavily weighted dish. You've got the Hussar grill carpetbagger, which has got a lot of Dijon mustard and cheese in it, and this would actually pair quite nicely with that. It'll pair well with actually all your chicken dishes, all your fish dishes, your salads as well, because Chenin Blanc has got a nice racy acidity, and this one specifically does as well. So this Chenin Blanc will also work very well with the pound chicken breast that you serve, because it's got mustard in it and it's got Parmesan cheese, and Parmesan cheese is actually quite acidic. So because this is a Chenin Blanc that has great acidity to it, it would work with that as well. Chardonnay. De Wetzelf is renowned for Chardonnay. They produce more than 8 different Chardonnays from their farm, and you guys have the Finesse Chardonnay on the Hussar Grill menu. The Finesse is actually a barrel fermented Chardonnay, but it's very, as the name says, very elegantly wooded. This pairs fantastically with all your chicken dishes, the Parmesan chicken, because it's got great acidity to it. So this Chardonnay will actually pair nicely with the Hollandse beef stick because of the buttery sauce that it's served with. It will also pair quite nicely with any béarnaise sauce that you have because of the racy acidity and the butter characteristics of any sauces that you do. So pinotage is a purely South African cultivar developed by Professor Perold, and he took Cinsault, the cultivar, and he hybridized it with Pinot Noir, and he produced pinotage, which is the cultivar. Typical characteristics of pinotage are blueberries, banana, red fruits, pink fruits. Beyerstroeter is pretty much the king of pinotage in South Africa, and he produces this award-winning Beyerstroeter pinotage. Pinotage works really well with your spare ribs, your pork belly, your burgers, as well as your chicken roulade with the mushroom sauce, because one of the characteristics of pinotage is very similar to Pinot Noir. The mushroom sauce will really go well with this. Shiraz. Sarensburg is a farm based in Tilbach, and this Shiraz is arguably one of the most consistently awarded Shirazes in South Africa. The winemaker Dierwold Hayes just knows how to make Shiraz. This is from a warmer climate, so the typical characteristics of this Shiraz is quite a lot of black pepper, a lot of dark red fruits, a lot of stewed fruit, plums, etc., etc. And this will pair really well with your Madagascan pepper sauces. So anything with spices and black pepper, anything with a lot of fat, so basically all your meat, all your steaks, anything with lots of fat, this will absolutely love. So Merlot is quite, if you're a new wine drinker, you can actually start with Merlot. It's the sort of lighter style of the big reds. Typical characteristic are a lot of red fruits, a lot of plum characteristics. When we talk about Cabernet, Cab is sort of seen as the big main cultivar of red wines. It's the big king of cultivars. It's very structured, it's got a lot of red fruit, black fruit, and because most of the time Cabernet is put into barrels, you get a lot of pencil shavings, licorice characteristics, cigar box characteristics. You need a lot of fat and a lot of meat and protein when you drink a Cab. Generally, you don't drink a Cab by itself, you need food with it. Ristenfreda Cab. This pairs well with all your steaks, obviously. It needs lots of fat and lots of protein because it's a heavy red wine. It also pairs well with your lamb shank and your lamb chops. Basically anything that's got lots of rosemary in it loves Cabernet. So let's talk blends. These are both classified as border red blends because they generally have Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc and Merlot in it. The difference between the two, obviously, they are from different farms. Rupert and Rothschild is based in some sodium area, sort of close to Franschhoek, and Meerlust is based in Stellenbosch. So they're both from a warmer climate. However, this one is majority Merlot. So the main characteristic of this wine is Merlot base. So this will pair really nicely with your ostrich fillet dishes, with all your red meat dishes as well, but ostrich and this one will go really nicely together. And then the Meerlust Rubicon has got more Cabernet in it. So again, this will pair nicely because it's got Cabernet majority Cab with your lamb dishes, all your meats, lots of fat. It's a very structured wine. There's two different types of closures. One is a screw cap closure. There are also different other versions of screw caps, but for the purpose of this, let's talk about screw cap and cork. There's different ways to open both of them. So when we want to open up a screw cap bottle, you hold the base of the screw cap and you twist the bottle. Now it's open. Sometimes when you try open the bottle like this, your hands slip and it gets stuck. That's why it's easier just to turn the base of the bottle. Once you've taken the screw cap off, you pour a little taster for the customer to taste. And then you hold the bottle out for them to keep looking to if they want to refer back to what the cultivar, the vintage, etc., is. So once the customer is happy with the wine, you now need to open it. So generally, these are the style of waiter's friends that you get these days. There's a little knife on the end, and that's specifically used to get the foil off the top of the wine. You don't take this entire thing off. That would be inappropriate. So what you do is you, at the little lip here, because on the bottle of wine there's a little lip, you take the bottle of wine and you take the knife and you scrape it around the lip. Once you've scraped it around, it basically lifts off. You discard this, you don't leave it at the table, you put it into your apron. Close your knife and open up your cork, your waiter's friend. So this doesn't require a lot of pressure. You can actually do it without putting any pressure onto the bottle of wine. All you do is put the point of the bottle opener into the middle of the cork, and you do one tiny little turn. Once it's now in, all you do is basic turning. Nothing, I'm not pushing down, I'm not struggling with the bottle, I'm not moving the bottle. The bottle remains constant. What turns is the corkscrew. And you take it all the way down. So once it's all the way down, you push the bottle opener that way and you hook in the first lever. Sorry. And you lift. Then you hook in the second lever and you lift. So right at the end, you never want to actually allow the cork screw to take out the cork, because what will happen is that it can splash wine on your customer. So at the end, just turn it like that. Then some customers would like to see the cork, so you show them the cork if they would like to see it. You don't need to remove this immediately, but you do remove the cork from your bottle opener, and you can leave it with the customer if you'd like to have it. So now your bottle's open. You obviously pour a little taster for your customer to taste first. So once you've poured your taster, you show the bottle to your customer again, so that if he wants to, he can check the vintage and the cultivar again. Once he's happy, once he's tasted the wine, then you carry on pouring. But you generally pour for the females first, the ladies first, and then you pour for the gentlemen. When you pour, you don't lean over your customer. So if your customer is sitting here, you pour from the right-hand side. And you pour just enough. So this is the appropriate amount of wine to pour into a wine glass for two reasons. Firstly, you don't want to pour too much. You never want to fill it up to the top, because the wine will get warm. And you want the wine to be served at the right temperature. Secondly, because of the shape of your glass, you can see the glass goes out and then starts going back in again. This level is pretty much at the widest section of the glass. And that's great, because then the wine starts interacting with the oxygen, which then starts bringing out more aromas and releasing more aromas from the wine, so that the customer will get the maximum benefit of the flavor profile of the wine. When you pour wine, twist the bottle at the end so that to prevent any spillage onto your customer or onto your tablecloths. Let him taste the wine. Once he's happy with the taste of the wine, again, you go around and you pour the ladies first, and you pour from the right-hand side, not the left-hand side. Do not ever lean over your customer. And then pour again the same amount, so it must only go up to about there. So when a bottle of wine is finished, you should always ask your customer if they'd like a new bottle of wine. Don't ever say, would you like another bottle of wine? It's just language. A new bottle of wine basically says, would you like a new bottle of the same wine, or would you like to choose a different wine? And when they choose the same wine, when you bring the new wine and you open up the new wine, you have to ask your customer if they'd like to have new wine glasses or if they're happy with using the same glasses. But you always do need to bring an additional glass for them to taste the new bottle of wine. Because the whole purpose of tasting the wine is because they need to check whether it's oxidized or whether it's corked, if there's something faulty with the wine.
That's perfect.
Okay, what I suggested you do is decant red wines before your mains are served at the table. So always ask your customers if they'd like you to decant their red wine, because red wine likes to breathe a bit. So the more it's exposed to oxygen, the more it opens up, and the better the wine will be for the customer. So always offer that service, because it's just an extra value add, because it's going to make your food taste better and make the wine taste better as well.